I guess I'm just into making videos today. Fucking. So I'm looking at RT posted, I think possibly today, about domestic violence. Now, if I can get the right mouse working, I've got multiple computers going. The video is titled 1 out of 3 women are victims of domestic violence. And I am just absolutely appalled. There are 109 comments, and let's start with the first one, because this just sets me off. This pisses me off. Okay, 1 in 3. I find that really hard to believe. If that is by Chicken Soup Deatot. So I might come back and video edit this and maybe put in some screen names, make it very apparent who the ignorant people are on here, because this angers me. 1 in 3, yes, that is true. That is the way it is. In case you haven't noticed, people seem to have a failure to have successful relationships. Have you not looked at the divorce rates? Are you in a successful relationship yourself? I highly doubt it. Honestly, the way you're voicing yourself, it sounds like you're an abuser, and that's why you find it hard to believe. I'm assuming you're the kind of person that likes to scream and yell at your significant other. Feminazi, bullshit, lies, we are so oppressed, get the fuck out. This stuff, that's what it looks like to me. This looks like the kind of shit that comes from people who are abusing their significant others. I don't understand. The phrase feminazi, I don't understand. I think a person should be proud of who they are. And if they are black, if they are Hispanic, if they are Chinese, Japanese, if they're Native American, if they're female, if they're male, if they're transgender, if they were born with 2 parts, there is no reason to be ashamed of the way that you are. So, being a woman and being proud of who I am, which is a woman, and not trying to hide from the fact that I'm a woman, and speaking about the issues that involve being a woman, that to me is a socially acceptable behavior. And the fact of the matter is, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and RT is a news outlet, and this is a very serious problem, and not enough people are addressing it. And this is the kind of response, obviously, we have some very aggressive males who are acting out against this, and I see very little female commentary. Feminazi, bullshit, lies, we are so oppressed, get the fuck out. How many men are physically abused by women because women have all the rights and power in today's feminazi society? So much so they will get away with everything. How about that? That's by Wade Dewell, Dewell. Obviously, this person has some self-esteem issues, which point to the fact that they may suffer from narcissism. So, again, likely to be an abuser. I'm sorry that you have the victim mentality, but what you need to realize is that it takes 3 times as much work for a woman to develop the same amount of muscle mass as a man. That means that if I go into a men's workplace, which I do quite oftenly, I have to work 3 times as hard. And you know what? Often I get paid less, because the fact that I'm female makes me questionable of even being in the workplace. You would think that since I'm working harder that I would make more money. Well, that's not the way it goes. I have to work harder and I make less. We don't get special privileges. We have to carry babies around in our womb, and people seem to think that women are sex objects. We're used to sell products. Get away with everything? What are we getting away with? What are you afraid of that makes you say something like this? To me, this particular statement points to something wrong psychologically, and the whole line of what I'm seeing down this wall shows me a very large group of people who are poorly educated. Okay, you can shoot your mouth off all day, but it doesn't mean that you know anything, and it does not mean that your opinion is relevant. because you don't know what you're talking about. And when you do that, you sound like an ignorant, stupid piece of shit. You are contributing to the problems that make something like this such a big deal. 1 out of 3 women, that's a lot. And it is that way because of ignorant people like the people that are posting down this wall. Men are physically abused by women. And that statistic was stated. The issue is, with this being pointed out on the side of women, is that women are not as physically strong. Men have testosterone. It also makes them more aggressive. Women are much more likely to be murdered by their significant other. However, the dialogue that needs to be happening in our society surrounding this issue, rather than "fuck you women," should be the fact that there is a high divorce rate, there is a high violence rate in relationships. 1 in 4 men and 1 in 3 women are abused. Either way you look at it, that is a fucked up situation. And you know why it's like that? Because we live in a fucked up ass commercial society where nothing makes sense, and what is promoted in the public domain, it revolves around the interests of corporations and fucking money grubbing sons of bitches. It doesn't have anything to do with societal values or trying to make anything better. It's about making money and selling shit to stupid people and manipulating people to make them stupid. And you're buying into that by not educating yourself and shooting your fucking mouth off on the internet. And what you've done is make yourself look absolutely retarded because you're stupid. Because you don't educate yourself. And what needs to happen is when people need to start talking about, this is bad. This is bad that our divorce rates are so high. This is bad that you people that are saying this shit are so unhappy that you feel like you have to say this shit. You're saying this shit because you're having problems in relationships. Your relationships aren't working out. Well, it looks like there's a good chunk of men on here who are also victims of domestic violence. The relationships are not working out. You know why? Because people are trying to get in relationships and they don't know what a relationship is. So they don't know how to make it function. And they're not willing to put in the work to make it function. And the way that their parents treated them when they were younger, if they treated them like shit, they're certainly not going to know how to function. Which is a lot of kids wind up growing up without a father or a mother, either way around. And so therefore, they don't have a model of a healthy relationship dynamic built in their lives. They don't understand that. And that gets hardwired into the brain throughout the process of development and growing up. So you got that, on top of the fact that a lot of stupid people want to bitch about their problems, but not do anything to solve them. I see a lot of bitching and not enough education here. So, I am going to reference a book for everybody. I want everybody to read this. You guys need to know how to make your relationships work out. And you need to stay away from people that have mental illnesses, such as sociopathy, psychopathy, and narcissism. If you are a giving person and you care a lot, you need to not give so much of yourself, and you need to set your boundaries so that way you're not taken advantage of. Because when you show up as that person, and you're so willing to give yourself over as a codependent, most likely you're attracting those personality types. Those who know that they can take advantage of that weakness. And therefore, that means that people who have a history of being abused are attracting more and more of that into their life through their behavior, and that is caused by a lack of education. So I want everybody who has a problem with this video or finds it concerning, because all I see RT doing here is providing information to the public, which is simply announcing statistics and letting you guys know that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and for some reason that sets off a bunch of idiots and they gotta talk a lot of shit about information. I want you to go get this book. This is a really important book. It's very well written. It is worth your time. It is The Verbally Abusive Relationship, How to Recognize It and How to Respond by Patricia Evans. Everybody needs to read that book. Even if you're a psychologist, you need to read that book, especially if you're involved in marriage counseling. Alright, let's keep going down here. Considering women perpetrate DV more often than men, and the most severe injured are men, this should be in the forefront of awareness. This is by DrewTube. That's one word. I'm just going to reply. Where do you get your information? We have another person that has already stood up against that one. 1 out of 3 men, 2, I bet. Jimbo Jones. Stop betting, start reading. Josh Myers looks like he's probably a victim. I don't agree with this one, but I'm going to skip it. There's another ignorant comment. And 2 out of 3 women lie about abuse to get government assistance and sympathy from the government. Again, where do you get your information? This is Joshua Plowman. No, I don't think that it is easy to just say, oh my god, he abused me, and try to get money. I don't even see how you get money from being a victim of abuse. You lose money. Domestic violence has a person who isolates another person often before it escalates to the point of physical violence. So you guys really need to define what domestic violence is. It starts with an unhealthy relationship where one person's taking advantage of the other, and then it turns into a power struggle, and then eventually, depending on the relationship, some people just take it, but there are snapping points. There's retaliating victims, and then there is also the point where I don't know if there's a special term, but homicide. So I don't know, like there's matricide, but I don't know if there's one for when a husband kills a wife or a wife kills a husband. I don't even see how women are really getting government assistance. The only thing I know about is safe houses, and that's not even assistance. I mean, if somebody's living in a safe house, they're pretty much locked up, you know? I see no connection between government assistance and domestic violence. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm looking at more of this shit. So, yeah. Yeah, it looks like the idiots are thumb-upping each other. And that's why the invigorating comments are on the top. 420 Walsh Swed. He says women assault men who don't hit the women back. Why does no one ever talk about that? I agree. There needs to be more public dialogue surrounding domestic violence because both parties don't know how to have a functional relationship. And again, the statistics is only one number off for the amount of men that are victims of domestic violence. So something's going on here. And I think it's a social problem. So I think that both problems need to be addressed. I think both sides are relevant. So I don't think no one ever talks about it. If there's not enough public dialogue, let's create that public dialogue. Let's get that going and have it done in a constructive manner. Because we really got to start addressing these issues. Like, we really got to have this dialogue. We got to bring it out. And it's not going to happen through any media outlet. And all I see is RT spewing a bunch of facts. So, I mean, I can't even say that their video that they have posted should really be the source of much criticism. It could be considered slightly biased. It does talk a bit about women and doesn't cover enough about men. So, I've not seen a lot of content that talks about domestic violence as a whole, really. I've seen it on both sides, but it should be talked about as a social problem that people don't know how to have relationships and that there are certain personality types that need to be stayed away from. And you know, like narcissism and psychopathy and what is the other one? Sociopathy. I have seen that there are statistics on that stuff. So I know that like men are more likely to develop those particular psychological disorders genetically. I know that psychopathy is handed down like by DNA. So those are where there's no give. Those are things that definitely need to be stayed away from. But there are gender differences in general with this topic. So I don't know if it's better for there to be media for men and then there be media for women, or if it should all be put together, or some of both. But the statistics definitely differ a little bit, and I do think they should be there with their variance, so that as individuals we can understand the risks that we face in our dating lives. But no, not enough people understand what a healthy relationship is, so I don't see how they could possibly have one. Like, you have to know what a healthy relationship is to have one. So, yeah, that's a good one. Could have been worded a little better, but that's alright. Here's a domestic violence offender